June 6, 1944. As dawn rose over the English Channel, history was already in motion. Thousands of Allied ships moved silently toward the coast of Normandy. Paratroopers prepared to jump into darkness. Pilots checked fuel gauges and maps one last time. It was the largest amphibious invasion ever attempted. And yet, inside Nazi Germany, there was no immediate sense of catastrophe, because Adolf Hitler believed this was not the real invasion. For months, German intelligence had been convinced of one simple truth. When the Allies finally crossed the Channel, they would strike at Pas de Calais. It made perfect sense. Calais was the shortest route to Germany. It offered direct access to the Ruhr industrial region. Any rational commander would choose it. Normandy, by contrast, looked secondary. Longer supply lines, rougher beaches, fewer ports. To the German High Command, Normandy was not the main event. It was a diversion. This belief did not come from guesswork. It came from intelligence, from reports that seemed detailed, consistent, and reliable, reports sent by a trusted agent inside Britain, an agent known to the Germans as Garbo. Garbo was considered Berlin's most valuable source. For nearly 2 years, his intelligence had appeared flawless. He described troop movements, training exercises, radio traffic, and supply buildups. Again and again, his reports were confirmed. At least they appeared to be. What German intelligence did not realize was that every word Garbo sent was being carefully controlled by British intelligence. He was not Germany's greatest spy. He was its greatest illusion. In early 1944, Garbo began sending increasingly urgent messages. He reported massive Allied forces gathering in southeastern England, entire divisions preparing for a cross-channel assault. According to Garbo, this army was commanded by General George Patton, the most aggressive and feared American general. The target, Garbo insisted, was Pas de Calais. Normandy, he said, would only be used to draw German forces away. And Berlin believed him. To reinforce the deception, the Allies created an entire fake army. Inflatable tanks, wooden landing craft, fake airfields, actors posing as officers, radio operators sent constant false messages, simulating the communications of a real force. From the air, from intercepted signals, from Garbo's reports, everything pointed to Calais. Germany's intelligence picture felt complete, too complete. So when reports arrived on the morning of June 6th, reports of airborne landings in Normandy, naval bombardments, troops on beaches, the reaction was cautious, not alarmed. Senior commanders hesitated. Was this the diversion they had been warned about? Or the real thing? Garbo had been clear. Normandy was not the main invasion. Hitler himself did not immediately intervene. He believed the Allies were trying to lure German reserves south. The strongest German formation in the West, the 15th Army, remained stationed near Calais. 19 divisions, over 150,000 men. They waited. Meanwhile, in Normandy, the fighting was real. At Omaha Beach, American forces faced devastating fire, casualties mounted by the thousands. At Utah, Gold, Juno, and Sword, Allied troops pushed inland against fierce resistance. Paratroopers fought isolated battles behind enemy lines. Bridges were seized. Roads were blocked. The Atlantic Wall, meant to stop any invasion, began to crack. Still, Germany did not release its full strength, because intelligence said, this is not the real attack. As the hours passed, something felt wrong. The Allies were not withdrawing. They were advancing. More ships arrived. More men came ashore. Air superiority was overwhelming. German movements were crippled by constant air attacks. Reinforcements moved slowly, only at night, and suffered heavy losses before reaching the front. The scale of the operation no longer looked like a diversion. It looked permanent. Inside German headquarters, doubts finally surfaced. Junior officers noticed patterns that contradicted the intelligence. Railways in Normandy had been bombed relentlessly for months. Bridges destroyed systematically. Road networks shattered. Calais, by comparison, had suffered far less damage. If Normandy was a feint, why prepare it so thoroughly? The evidence had been visible for a long time. But it had been ignored. Days passed. The Allies were still there. Beachheads expanded and linked together. Artificial harbors were assembled offshore. Supplies poured in at a scale Germany could not match. And then came the realization that changed everything. Intercepted communications revealed a stunning truth. General Patton's army, the force Germany feared most, had been dissolved. It had never existed as a real combat force. The tanks observed in England were inflatable. The landing craft were plywood. The radio traffic had been scripted. The army Germany had waited for was a ghost. And Garbo? Every source he claimed to have, dock workers, clerks, officers, was fictional. German intelligence had never met them, never verified them, never questioned them. They had trusted one man completely, and he had told them exactly what they wanted to hear. Juan Pujol Garcia was not a trained spy. He was a Spanish civilian, a former chicken farmer. When he first offered his services to British intelligence, he was rejected. So he approached the Germans instead. From Lisbon, using travel guides and newspapers, he invented an entire spy network and began sending reports. The Germans loved him. When British intelligence discovered what he had done, they brought him to London and turned him into their most effective weapon. They renamed him Garbo. Garbo's genius was not lying constantly. It was mixing truth with deception. He warned Germany about real Allied operations, but always too late to stop them. Each correct report built trust. Over time, German intelligence became dependent on him. By 1944, he was their primary source inside Britain. When he said Calais, they believed Calais. Not because the evidence demanded it, but because they had no other voice left to trust. The consequences were catastrophic. Germany's strongest army in the West remained frozen for weeks. By the time it was released, the opportunity was gone. The Allies had landed over 1 million soldiers. Ports were captured. France was breaking free. The invasion could no longer be stopped. After the war, one German intelligence officer summarized the failure with brutal honesty. He said they did not lose because they were deceived. They lost because they wanted to be deceived. Garbo told them what they already believed, and they built their entire strategy around that belief. Juan Pujol Garcia was awarded medals by both sides. Germany honored him for his service. Britain secretly rewarded him for saving countless lives. After the war, he disappeared. He faked his own death and